Bryan Freedman has just responded to Blake. I, Bryan Freedman, representing all the Wayfarer parties. I submit this affidavit in opposition to the motion to strike.
Bryan Freedman saw it coming. Taylor Swift wasn't going to stay silent forever. The signs of her falling out with Blake Lively weren't just rumors. They were red flags. In this video, we break down the inside drama that fueled their rift, and why Blake's clean getaway from scandal might be totally out of reach.
Justin Baldoni has dropped his subpoena for Taylor Swift, and then Blake Lively's people putting out these statements about, yes, we're so glad that this was done. Our friend and this megastar that dragged into this, and Justin. I mean, guys, you heard all the ridiculous things they tried to do. Everything that they're doing, they try to deflect it and say that it's Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer and Bryan Freedman doing it, but they're doing it. Or they try to gaslight us as though things are just going really well, really swell over there in the Reynolds and Lively household and with their camp, and that they're really winning and pushing forward. And it's not us doing bad things. It's Bryan Freedman and Justin Baldoni. Sure, sis. But then we also heard about Taylor Swift essentially disowning her, talking about how she was full of red flags. She's relieved their friendship is over, that she's completely cut her off. That essentially this is the way I see it, is that she absolutely hates her. Blake was toxic. She was a narcissist in her life. She didn't say these words. This is my gathering, is that she was a narcissist, and that over the years, it was all this stuff happening. It was chaotic being friends with her, and that it is just like a release, that it's finally done with. Now, some people were saying, how could Taylor not know? I don't know if Taylor didn't know if Blake was toxic or not, but would we say the same thing to a woman who was in a relationship with a man who was a narcissist? Many of us have been in relationships with narcissists, or been friends with narcissists, or have family members who are narcissists. And it takes getting to a certain point that the lights cut on, that you see the red flags, you know you've been mistreated, but you get conditioned to deal with it. Now, I don't know if Taylor Swift is a narcissist. There have been claims of that. I don't know. But I know if you are an empath, which some also claim that Taylor Swift is, that you could go under years of narcissistic abuse and excuse it away, or just you learn to adapt psychologically. But it is when that final straw the final nail in the coffin, it just wakes you up, and you can see the pattern, you can see the abuse, you can see the gaslighting and the manipulation that you were under for so many years, that you just could not see at first. So I want to extend grace in that aspect until we find out more what was actually going on. I feel like we need to extend some grace, because many of us have been in these situations, and again, you have to put yourself in those shoes. And then I also compare it to a woman being in a relationship with a narcissist. We would not have the same response. I'm not defending anything, because I don't know the truth at this point, but the move she's making now, in my eyes, it basically makes me see her better. It redeems her a lot in my eyes.
Taylor Swift and Blake Lively once seemed like Hollywood's golden duo. From dreamy New Year's Eve celebrations to girls' trips that had fans swooning, their friendship felt unbreakable. Taylor wrote heartfelt tributes to Blake on Instagram, while Blake praised Taylor's talent in interviews. Even Blake's kids were woven into Taylor's lyrics, like secret Easter eggs that sent Swifties into detective mode. And who could forget the viral vacations, cozy selfies, and red carpet giggles? It all pointed to a friendship that felt deeper than the usual Hollywood connection. But appearances? They can be deceiving. Behind the curated posts and polished moments, cracks may have already been forming. Bryan Freedman all but confirmed it, claiming the fallout between Taylor and Blake wasn't just possible, it was inevitable. For years, they presented a bond that felt almost too perfect. Fans saw every shared moment as proof of something real. But in the world of celebrity, even friendships can be calculated. Some industry insiders have raised an eyebrow at just how much Blake may have gained from her connection with Taylor. Sure, Blake was already famous, between her acting career and marriage to Ryan Reynolds, but being in Taylor's orbit gave her access to a whole new level of buzz. Media coverage turned warmer. Her brand image soared. Coincidence? Or careful strategy? Taylor, known for being fiercely loyal but also incredibly perceptive, doesn't miss much. While she dives into friendships wholeheartedly, she's not blind to subtle shifts, missed moments of support, backhanded compliments, or one-sided loyalty. Sometimes it's not what's said on camera, it's what's felt off it. Freedman's comments gave those quiet doubts new weight. He painted their fallout as something Taylor could no longer ignore, hinting that Blake may have leaned too heavily on their bond for her own gain. The perfect friendship? Maybe it wasn't so perfect after all. Now fans are wondering, were the signs always there? Could those golden moments have masked something deeper? If Taylor sensed the vibe shifting, you can bet she didn't stick around quietly, because with Taylor, once trust is broken, the glitter fades fast.
As Baldoni has now withdrawn the paperwork seeking information from Swift about what she knew about former friend Lively's war with the actor, with an insider exclusively revealing the reason for the drastic move. Okay, so this is an insider. And I have to say, people will say that the Daily Mail is just tabloid. They may have been, and maybe even early in this case, but for the past few months, they have been zeroing in and really giving tea that nobody else has and reporting the truth about what's going on in this case. So shout out to Daily Mail for that. When they say they have an insider, it is an insider. Okay, there's somebody, most likely it could be Bryan Freedman or whoever on Justin Baldoni's team that is giving them this information. They're not going to publish it unless they have an actual real insider. And we already know, based on past articles, they have had conversations, okay, with that side. They've been getting real and true information and doing great investigative work, particularly about Blake's former company and her brother and all of that craziness that I brought to you guys. But here we go with the statement. They said Justin Baldoni's attorney, Bryan Freedman, dropped the request for the subpoena, and the reason for doing this is very simple. They got exactly what they were seeking, which we heard yesterday, but there's more. Let me move this over. Sending a subpoena to Taylor and Taylor's response has provided Baldoni's team with everything they needed. Taylor stated that she was not involved at all, and this is in stark contrast to what Lively has said. Taylor's lack of involvement proves that Blake lied about several very important details to this case. Furthermore, the court has now has information that is documented to show that Blake's attorney did, in fact, threaten to leak Taylor's private text. This is backed up by evidence. Taylor was always considered to be the smoking gun in this, and everyone is extremely pleased with the end result and the information it yielded. They got exactly what they were hoping for and much more. This is coming from Justin's side, okay? Everything is backed up with evidence. They got exactly what they needed, and that's why this whole thing about the subpoena is quashed. And I mean, they withdrew their subpoena that Blake tried to put out. This is what they're, I'm not going to read it again because it was just a bunch of BS. But this is what they, you know what? Actually, I will read it because we need to see the BS in real time just for a laugh. So with that statement out, it makes it clear Taylor Swift is working to help Justin Baldoni in his fight against Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Now, Lively's spokesman said in a statement to Daily Mail, "We are pleased that Justin Baldoni and the Wayfair parties have withdrawn their harassing subpoenas to Taylor Swift and her law firm. We supported the efforts of Taylor's team to quash these inappropriate subpoenas directed to her counsel and will continue to stand up for any third party who is unjustly harassed and threatened in the process." Sure. Swift's rep told Daily Mail when the original subpoena was issued, Taylor Swift never set foot on the set of this movie. Okay, we know all that. And then she just had all that Taylor did, as we know, they're still claiming this. Taylor's just saying the only thing she did was license her song. But then I would say we have to talk about the meeting when Taylor was there in the apartment, in Blake and Ryan's apartment, and he was he's saying he was coerced by not anything that Taylor said or did, but her presence and her saying, "Oh yeah, this is great," that he felt this pressure. We got the whole dragon text after that. But then we also are hearing about how Justin says that he showed them Isabella Ferrera's audition tape, and that both Blake and Taylor was like, "Yes, that's the one." Now, that to me is a little innocuous because we don't know if did he send it to them? Did he send it to Blake and Blake said, "Oh, I'm here with Taylor and we both actually absolutely love it"? Did he physically go and show them this? We haven't really heard anything. I don't believe that was in Justin Baldoni's lawsuit. that he actually physically showed Taylor Swift anything. So it gets murky. We don't know if Blake just lied about that, or maybe she was hanging out with Taylor and they happened to be there, and Justin Baldoni showed Blake because of that. I don't know, but she says she was never on set. So how would he show Taylor Swift this? We've got to get some answers to it. But either way, at this point, Justin Baldoni and Bryan Freedman, Wayfair, they're all satisfied with whatever evidence and things that have been provided to them to show that it was not, Taylor Swift really did not have any involvement. And that anything that Blake is alleging, well, it's completely false. She just used my name.
What if those heartwarming moments we all gushed over were actually red flags hiding in plain sight? Think about it. When Taylor Swift used Blake Lively's kids' names in her songs, fans saw it as sweet and sentimental, a symbol of deep friendship. But in hindsight, wasn't that a massive image boost for Blake? Taylor didn't drop those names by accident. It tied Blake's family to one of the biggest global icons, sparking instant media buzz and fan adoration. Cute? Sure, but maybe that moment did more for Blake than for Taylor's creative expression. Now take their high-profile public appearances. Who really benefited most? Every photo of them laughing, hugging, or vacationing together crafted a narrative. Blake Lively, the grounded Hollywood darling, and Taylor Swift, the chart-topping legend, BFF goals. But behind the smiles, insiders say Blake leaned into that spotlight more than Taylor ever did. At a time when Blake wasn't headlining blockbusters, their friendship became her most newsworthy role. Entertainment media reframed Blake as effortlessly cool and plugged into pop royalty, all by association. Some say Taylor started noticing the imbalance. Subtle things, like Blake's rare shoutouts on social media despite Taylor's frequent support, or how Blake's calendar suddenly got too full when Taylor needed loyalty most. Remember the Reputation era? Taylor was under fire, and while a few ride or dies stood strong, Blake's voice was noticeably absent. That didn't go unnoticed. Those close to both women claim the dynamic was never quite equal. Taylor's influence is no joke. She opens doors, boosts brands, and elevates anyone in her orbit. Blake's image only got glossier during their friendship. From elite party invites to glowing press coverage, her public profile got a major upgrade. The question is, did Taylor get the same in return? According to Bryan Freedman, Taylor might have been doing the math long before things soured publicly. From the outside, Blake's career seemed steady, but her proximity to Taylor expanded her reach far beyond film. Those dreamy vacation pics and NYC nights weren't just social media gold. They were power moves, tying Blake to a cultural juggernaut. So, was there one moment that made Taylor walk away? Or was it a slow buildup of small slights and calculated moves? One thing's for sure, beneath the picture-perfect friendship was a story that didn't make the feed.
Here's more details on that source. I, Bryan Freedman, representing all the Wayfarer parties. I submit this affidavit in opposition to the motion to strike by Blake Lively, elaborating the basis for the subpoena to Taylor Swift. On February 14th, 2025, I received a voicemail from a person very closely linked to Taylor Swift, whom I subsequently called back the same day. Out of respect for the individual in question, I am not identifying them at this time. However, should the court direct me to do so, I will comply with a court order. During the February 14th phone call, which lasted approximately 1 hour, the speaker told me that they had been informed that J. Douglas Baldridge, counsel for Taylor Swift, and a partner at Venable, had received a phone call from Michael Gottlieb, counsel for Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, during which Mr. Gottlieb requested, on Miss Lively's behalf, that Taylor Swift make a social media statement in support of Miss Lively, given her absence from the Super Bowl that year, and stated that if Miss Swift failed to do so, Miss Lively would release 10 years of private texts with Miss Swift. The individual also told me that they had been informed that Miss Baltridge had accused Mr. Gottlieb of extortion and ended the call. During the same 14th call, the individual told me that they had been informed that 4 or 5 months earlier, Miss Lively had requested that Miss Swift delete her text messages with Miss Lively. I was connected to this individual through a mutual friend who informed me that the individual wanted to talk. We have had several phone calls since February 14th. On a later call with the same individual, the individual told me that Mr. Baltridge had sent a written communication to Mr. Gottlieb relating to their phone conversation. My office issued a subpoena to Taylor Swift for the purpose of seeking the aforementioned written communication. I swear under penalty of perjury. Guys, do you get how big this is and how much this is exploding in Blake and Ryan's face? This is unreal.
The Met Gala, where fashion meets fame and friendships are flaunted under 1 million flashbulbs. But for Taylor Swift and Blake Lively, that glittering night may have marked the start of something far less fabulous. While the world saw red carpet, magic whispers behind the scenes told a very different story. This wasn't just a party, it might have been the moment everything began to crack. According to sources close to the scene, tension started brewing quietly, almost invisibly. It wasn't a screaming match or a dramatic fallout. It was a single comment. Something Blake said during a private conversation that rubbed Taylor the wrong way. Not aggressive, not loud, but subtly dismissive. A casual ear might have brushed it off. But Taylor, she catches everything. Her radar, her passive digs and shady undertones is razor sharp. And this time, it picked up something she couldn't shake. What happened next only fueled suspicions. For the first time in years, there was no post-gala glow-up between the two. No shared selfies, no cheeky captions, no fan-favorite inside jokes lighting up Instagram. Just silence. And in celebrity friendships, silence speaks volumes. Fans were the first to notice. The usual rush of Met Gala content from Taylor and Blake? Gone. It wasn't just about missing photos, it was the vibe. The connection they once flaunted felt completely absent. Insiders say even at the event, there was a noticeable coolness. Taylor, ever the spotlight pro, dazzled as usual. But Blake? She seemed checked out. Not cold exactly, but distant, detached. Like her heart wasn't in it anymore. One source put it simply, there was an energy shift. Something felt off. And for someone like Taylor, who'd already been quietly noting red flags, this was confirmation. Blake's usual warmth was MIA, and the subtle shift didn't go unnoticed. That's where Bryan Freedman's warning, that a fallout was inevitable, starts to sound less like gossip and more like a prophecy. The Met Gala, with all its glitz, has a way of spotlighting personal drama. There's no room to hide under that kind of scrutiny. Every interaction is dissected, every absence magnified. For Taylor, who values loyalty like currency, this night may have been the moment she began pulling away, emotionally, if not publicly. And what followed speaks volumes. Over the next few weeks, the tone of their dynamic reportedly cooled. No dramatic unfollowings, no cryptic tweets, but those who pay attention saw the shift. Taylor, it seemed, had begun protecting herself. And once she's made that call, there's no turning back. Was this the night it all changed? For those reading between the lines, the Met Gala wasn't just a party. It was the quiet kickoff of a friendship unraveling and the beginning of Taylor's long, calculated retreat.